Back at it, episode 9 of Social Class, man. In the cut. Before we start, I want to give a shout out to Prime Life Clothing Company. This is on the fly, bro, because I'm wearing their shirt right now. So I was just
Okay.
like, fuck it, I'll shout them out. My bro Kyle, Tim, Emmanuel, Jordan. Who else? Am I leaving anybody else out? Who's the
I
Prime crew?
think that's more. I think that's
That's all of
the
them, I
original
think.
one. Yeah.
That's all of them. If I left anybody out, my bad. But just shout out to Prime, man. You know, young dudes trying to make something happen with the clothing brand. Shit is extra fresh. Go check them out on IG. I believe they're. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up just to make sure it's right. Just to make sure it's right, cause we got to get the proper shout out. Got to do them right. Yeah, their IG is Prime Life CC. So PRIMELIFECC. They got dope clothes right now. Last uh looks like their last collection was based off of Fight Night. Shit was dope. I saw they did a whole campaign with like Muhammad Ali and shit, but
Man, yes,
shout
cool.
out to the bros doing their thing. Yeah. But no, bro, I was just saying before to Renee, I don't know how much of it picked up, but it was I was talking about just like how everything translates over. You know what I mean? Like how my eyes don't change and stuff like that. And it's just kind of like, because to the audience, if you guys don't know, I'm an artist, and I'm working on a mural right now for the first time, and it's just tough. Like I was just telling Mac, like spray painting is like a different animal. I have so much respect for street artists that go out and paint murals on the walls that do realism and stuff like that, because it's a medium that you really don't have too much control over. And when it comes to my art, I always like to have like a lot of control over what I'm spray painting and what I'm doing. I mean, not spray painting, but drawing or actually painting with a brush. It's like with a spray can, you don't really have that. So it's like, damn. But within that conversation, we were just kind of talking about how everybody has their lane, because I was kind of breaking down to Malcolm like color theory and things like that. Because bro asked me like, what do you get when you mix pink and black? And I was like, man, like I really don't know, but I could kind of put it together because I know colors and things like that. And like I said, it's something that he may not have been privy to, but that's not his lane. You know what I'm saying? Bro writes. He does a different type of art. But it almost made me think about the story I was telling you the other day about I met this dude, I don't name names on Social Class.
Yeah.
I won't put him out there like that. But or any of his business or anything like that. But I had met somebody, it was last week on Friday. And the reason that this kind of came to mind is because he's creative in his own right. He actually has an idea about like a cartoon or anime, like a film. And I remember sitting there talking to him, and I'm a visual artist, so I just remember sitting there talking to him and him telling me all the details about what he was working on. And I was like, damn, bro, like this dude's like one of the most creative people I've ever fucking met. Like,
Man.
because my brain doesn't work like that. And I was just like, damn. But besides that point, like, there's a couple points that I wanted to hit on, like about this meeting on the podcast. For one, I didn't know the dude very well. Like I said, I'm not going to mention his name. He's a little bit younger than me. But here, I guess here's our intro to social media for this episode. If I always talk about social media. But I had judged bro kind of like off of his social media presence. And, he kind of posts things that I guess I would say like the opposite of what I want to be around in terms of like the energy. You know what I mean? Like I said, dude's younger than me. Seemed like he lived a little bit reckless or whatever. And I was like, man, this little kid, like this little fuck kid, I'm not trying to, hang around him. I'm being honest.
Yeah,
Like,
nah.
I was like,
Just
I'm not really trying to meet up with this kid. But he hit me up. I actually ran into him in person, and he was like, hey man, let's talk. And I was like, all right, bro, whatever, just hit me. You know what I mean? Like kind of like with it, because we were supposed to actually meet up beforehand, maybe about a few months ago before COVID, and it ended up falling through. It didn't happen. So when I saw him in person and he wanted to meet up again, I was kind of like, yeah, bro, like, whatever. I was like, hit me. You know what I mean? To see if he actually hit me. Like, it was on him. So, long story short, he actually did hit me, and we actually did meet up. But all of those premonitions and judgments that I had about him and who I thought he was totally false.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because I thought that he was one way based off of all the things that I saw. Me and bro ended up hitting it off and talking for like 5 hours, bro, in the hot fucking sun. Like, because we didn't, of course, COVID and stuff, we didn't want to be inside.
Yeah.
But this kid was extremely talented, man, and had a story. And it was just like, damn, there's a couple layers to it because, like, for everything that he's going through, for him to still have, like, a positive outlook, like, the whole time we're sitting there, and he ended up telling me as well, the reason that we didn't meet up, like, the months prior before was because he was kind of nervous to speak to me. And I was like, bro, why are you nervous? And he was like, bro, like, you're David Jones. Like, I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, he was like, he's just like, bro, like, you just, because he had my art teacher, Robledo, I'll put his name out there, Robledo. And he was telling me he had just heard stories about me, you know, and even my social media presence, I'm not really too available to people. So I guess by the way I carried myself, he thought that I carried myself with, like, some sort of, like, importance, you know what I mean, with some stature, which might be true, but you know, but I guess it was a big deal for him. Like, he was kind of nervous, I guess, to meet with me, but we ended up meeting and talking and everything, and the whole time he's telling me about, because you know we got to know each other, and I started telling him about some of the things that I've been working on and everything, and he's also telling me about his idea. But the whole time, bro was sitting there talking about how I inspire him. And I was sitting there being inspired, man. Like, for real, just like listening to this young dude and all the stuff he's been through and his outlook and how he's able to transfer that into his art, you know what I mean? And create a means of expression that's going to help people, for real. Because what he's doing, like, I can't reveal his idea, but, you know, he's working on something that's definitely going to help people. And I feel like it'll be beneficial to a lot of people. And I really hope that it's a huge success. But besides that, man, don't judge people. You know, you never know what could come from it. I know we say that shit on here all the time, but yeah, that was just a little story I wanted to tell.
Facts. And be able to recognize the incompleteness of our judgments. Like, when we do judge someone prematurely, be able to say, all right, no, I was wrong.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, right. Because I was wrong. Like I said, like, I had I was like, oh, this little fuck kid, bro. I'm not trying to. It's about to be wasting my time. Yeah. You know, and then it ended up being like, I haven't talked to bro since, but, like, I want to talk to him again. Like, you know, like, he was feeding me. Like, he didn't even know it. You know, he thought that he was coming to me to be fed. But, like, man, like, he motivated and inspired me. He really did.
I feel that, man.
He really did.
That's the power of inspiration, too. And, like, that's the importance of, like, connecting and collaborating with other people. It's, like, that inspiration aspect.
Right.
And that's one of the, I mean, that's why I appreciate this friendship, our friendship, you know, it's because it's like, I feel like a mutual, I was thinking about this earlier, a mutual inspiration.
Yeah.
Like, bro, I get inspired by you every time we talk. We say this all the time, but it's like every time we talk, every time I come here, you know, learning something new. And it kind of, I don't know, that aspect is a lot of value in that. Because it's not like that with every friendship. And it's not like that with every interaction where it's like you're always necessarily inspired by the people. Not, you know, it's just... But
yeah, some things are kind of. I'm not even going to harp on that.
Yeah.
Nah, bro, I had experience, but I ain't going to talk about it.
It's real, though.
You might fucking listen. Oh, shit, fuck it. I'll put it out there. No, I had experience with one of my friends today, bro. It kind of like. He was talking about some bullshit. Like, he just kind of called me up on some bullshit. I'm his friend. I'm there for him. Like, you know, of course nobody knows who this is, but I was just kind of like. You know, it ain't really the type of time I'm on.
Yeah, you just kind of wasting my time.
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, all right, you know, like, I'll be there for him because that's my homie, but, you know, I feel like I find myself in a place right now where I'm gravitating more towards, you know, people that are trying to do something, or people that inspire me, or, like, I feel like, not to be a leech, but, like, if you don't really have nothing to offer me, you know what I mean? Like, mentally, like, I don't really feel drawn to it right now.
No, that reminded me of something because I seen someone called them energy vampires. Like, they're saying kind of just people that hang around friend groups that aren't really contributing anything, but they're just kind of taking other people's energy. Like, they like being around certain people because they get a certain energy from it, but it's like they're not necessarily reciprocating anything. And not saying, I mean, that's just kind of, that reminded me of that because that's a real thing too. Not saying it's the worst thing necessarily, but it's like that is a thing too, and just kind of to be aware of.
Yeah.
Because it also reminded me, someone recently just told me, like, if you're the smartest person in every room that you're in, you know, you got to start finding some other rooms. You got to start moving in, like, some different circles. And then that reminded me of something else. I mean, these were all kind of just connected. But it was basically someone just saying, like, if you're 25 and your conversations aren't necessarily talking about, like, investments or, like, building toward a future or, like, things more productive than the club and women and different things like that, then it's like you kind of need to reassess a little bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was a big one. Even, I mean, really for anybody at a certain age, like the person was saying 25, but like really like 23-year-olds, 24-year-olds, just kind of people that want to be more, because this is where I'm at, want to be more aware of the influences
Right.
that are influencing them.
Right.
Because like, I don't know, right now I'm at a real reflective point in my life, and like real kind of, almost like a renunciation stage too. Like there's a lot of past behaviors and a lot of past things I did from reflecting, and it's like ashamed of it, embarrassed by it, but it's like, how am I gonna move forward now? And like now I'm trying to move better.
Yeah.
More so, and it's kind of just like figuring out how to go about that, and it's like by surrounding myself and like by getting influences that are positive and kind of doing things like that. But I don't know, those are all that's where my mind, where all that took my mind.
Yeah. You kind of hit on something right now when you talked about the age. It made me think about a conversation that we had. I don't think we talked about it on here. It was kind of opinionated, you know, but it was kind of about like when we choose to be serious in our lifetime. Remember when we talked about that?
Yeah.
Like, and I talked about like a reallocation of time from like the end of your life to the beginning.
Yeah.
How right now we kind of have like this, not necessarily us, and there's a lot of other people that are very serious when it comes to like, you know, when they first get out of high school and everything like that, you know, wanting to get their career on track and everything. But I feel like there's kind of like this moniker of like, you know, we have fun when you're young, or like live well. You only live once. You know what I'm saying? Like just fuck off your 20s, whatever.
Yeah.
But I remember I was listening to bring it back to like the interviews and shit like that. I was listening to a Russ interview, and he was talking about how people's 30s are a reflection of how you spent your 20s. And he was pretty much just saying that, you know, people, he was talking about how people wish for things, you know, but they don't really desire them. And he was saying that like the difference between when you wish for something and when you desire them is when you desire something, you're going to actively push to get those things. And it's like when you spend, you know, your 20s and, you know, living, going out to the club or spending your time, not saying that you shouldn't have any fun, but when your primary focus isn't putting energy into something that's going to, you know, expand upon your career or just your living circumstances, whatever it is, it's like, don't expect more. It's pretty much what he was trying to say. Like, you're just wishing for it. If you're just saying like, hey, I want to be out the house and have a, you know, have a car, have whatever by the time I'm 27, but it's like, how are you spending your time? You know what I mean? Are you actually progressively trying to learn more things? Are you trying to financially empower yourself? Are you trying to learn about how to make investments to be stable, you know, and changing your spending habits and things like that? But I thought that was a real interesting conversation we had, just kind of about like, you know, and this is like totally just like, you know, random thought, you know, like this isn't actually going to happen, but it's like, man, like what if we geared children to start figuring out what they want to do by the time they were like 16, 17? You know, because I feel like they have the mental power to do it, you know, like, and it's like a lot of school is filler. And it's like, you know, what if, not saying I want to put kids in a position to make like a lifelong decision, you know, when they're not fully matured yet, but it's like, for granted, if a kid knew what they wanted to do, because I feel like some people are really like, they know what they want to do, like at a young age. And it's like, if we gear towards catering to those needs as opposed to giving them so much filler and starting to put people in the positions in the direction of doing what they want to make their career, whatever, at a younger age, then it's like, man, you got kids in their career by the time they're our age, you know, like full-fledged in it. And it's like that reallocation of time plus financial literacy, you know, learning how to spend their money properly, learning how to live, you know, within their means. It's like you can reallocate that time of having fun in your 20s to shit. You retire at like 45, 50. You know what I'm saying? Because you just had a 25-year career because you started when you were 20. And it's like now you get to have real fun. But then you also had mentioned about how youth is also, you know, your youth is going at that point as well. But then that's where we even come up on the concept of like eating healthy and fucking taking care of yourself, you know. But it's like everything's connected. I don't know why I brought that up, but I did. Like,
I felt you were kind of hitting on like developing intuition and like ability, because like you're saying, some kids know and understand what they want to do at a young age. I feel like part of that is intuition. It's like, oh, I have an inclination or an ability at math, or I'm really good at English, or I'm really good at maybe sports or something, and it's like, let them develop that and let them kind of keep going so that by the time they get to this age, they're already, like you said, already have a career started up type thing. And it's kind of just like more refinement. I feel like that's really That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. I just been thinking about it too. It's like the education in general, like the whole
Yeah.
education system, especially now with coronavirus. It's just kind of highlighting. I feel like like public education. I feel like needs a large enhancement, like a really large enhancement in general, just like for the betterment of the future generations, kind of going forward, and just doing a better job of cultivating that intuition, like what people are naturally good at.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, man, school. I'm so glad I'm not in school right now, bro. Like
Yeah.
I was,
Won't lie.
I was talking to a friend because they gotta go through the whole. They did their what's it called? Registration? No, not registration. What do you call that? Is it called registration? You know when you first
Yeah.
get back to school?
Yeah, registration.
Yeah, I guess it
for
is.
college or
For college.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just did their registration. They were telling me about their classes and shit like that. And because of COVID, like everything's at home. Like everything's just fucking Zoom.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, like that sounds. Talking to them, they sounded very disinterested.
Yeah, that's what it
They sounded
sounded.
very disinterested, bro. And I was like, fuck, like I'm just happy I'm not in your position. Like,
Yeah.
you know, just going. But it was interesting to me because, you know, I feel like you should want to go to school. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we should have an education system where people are excited to, you know,
To
learn the
learn.
things that are going to essentially become what they do with their life.
Bro.
But it's like, it's not like that. We got to ask ourselves, why is it not like that? You know what I mean? And it's like, I feel like it boils down to a lot of the information is like stuff that's not, you know, necessarily pertaining all the way to what we want to do. Like, we just have to learn a whole. It's like, for what?
You said
we have
filler.
a lot of for what
It's
information.
filler, yeah. It's just like really isn't enhancing anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for real. I mean, we've hit on that before, but you know,
Yeah.
we don't know if everybody listens to every episode. We bring it up again, touch on it again. But what you got written down, bro? I'm really curious. Like.
Man, I got some quote. I've been reading I was telling you about earlier. I was reading The Catalyst by Jonah Berger, and it just kind of talks about like what catalysts are and like for changing. And basically, a catalyst, he's talking about like in chemistry, it's what allows reactions because it lowers like the blocks for things to react.
Right.
Basically, he's saying like that's what catalysts can do for change. They like lower the roadblocks that are inhibiting people from change.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's kind of what the book is all about. But it's super interesting. And one of the quotes he had, this isn't his, but I just thought it was a good one. It was just talking about, it said, good is the enemy of great. We don't have great schools principally because we have good schools. We don't have great government principally because we have good government. Few people attain great lives in large part because it is just so easy to settle for a good life. And I was like, bro, that was real. Like,
yeah.
because it also kind of just talks about like the threshold. Because he talks about like how if things aren't terrible and they're like just okay but not great, then it's harder to get people to change. And that's kind of like the position we're in ways. Exactly. Things aren't like a lot of people. Things aren't terrible for a lot of people. They're kind of fine.
Right.
And so it's like those people don't necessarily have any motivation to change. You know. And it's also kind of just he hits on like mentioning there's a downside to the status quo, like things staying the same. Like most people would just assume like this is safe or this is okay if things just stay the same, but there's a downside to that. And if you get people to see there's a downside of status quo and the way things are, then that can also kind of help them to change a little more.
What's the downside?
The downside is that like things aren't good for everyone. Like the status quo.
I understand.
So like if it's terrible for someone, but like okay for another person, that person that thinks it's okay is like, no, we don't need to change.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like you can kind of think of like different systems, like capitalism, for example. Like a billionaire is gonna be like the system seems to be working fine.
That's cool.
But somebody who's making like $30,000 or like $15,000 with like a family and stuff is trying to survive. They're like, this is this is terrible.
Yeah.
But it's just an interesting one because it just talks about like change. It's like a lot of stuff I want to talk about in my book, kind of, and just like analyzing. But those are the quotes. And then it's kind of there's this other concept called a zone of acceptance, and it's just like the area of acceptance that people are willing to go to from things that are different than like what they know or unfamiliar. And I was just realizing a lot of people, that area is really small, like their zone of acceptance, like what they'll accept outside of the norm or outside of what is like standard necessarily. Right. So it's like if you have a really small zone of acceptance, anything that deviates, even just like maybe a standard deviation from the normal, that's going to be like outside of your zone of acceptance, so you're not going to accept it. So I was just thinking, like, I feel like everyone's got to be able to kind of widen their zone of acceptance a little bit, and we got to start being more accepting of others
Mm-hmm.
that are opposite or even different from us.
Mm-hmm.
But
Man, that's really interesting that you said that because that almost makes me think. And I'm not too informed on this topic, nor do I have a close relationship with anybody. But like sexuality, for instance, I've been noticing when I watch TV that I see a lot of homosexual representation. You know, a lot more than there used to be.
definitely.
And when I remember, I don't know if you call this exactly homophobia or what it is, but I remember I was talking to someone like, and we were watching TV, and the commercial came on with two, homosexual people, and they were like, why are they showing all these people? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are they showing so many gay people or whatever on TV now? And it didn't bother me. You know what I mean? I kind of understood because I'm like, to me, that's representation.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, like, how do you think, people that can relate to that feel? It's like, okay, like we're being included now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not all couples are heterosexual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, that's representation to me. But the person I was talking to was older, of course, so it made me realize just kind of like, I just kind of relate that to like their zone of acceptance. You know what I'm saying? Like their zone of acceptance is just like it's small.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're not going to step out. It bothers them to even see somebody on TV. Like I'm like, why does that bother you? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, just fucking watch the commercial's gonna go off. It's not even 30 seconds. You know, like I don't see why it's such a big deal. But it's like, man, we need to get out of that. And like, even though the way I looked at it, I was like, man, even though I'm a heterosexual male and I don't understand it, I do understand that I don't understand. So it's just like, all right, but I'll try to have an understanding of, different orientations and things like that. But it's like, man, what's the way to put it? I'm trying to use my words very carefully. I'm just trying to say that, like, I work on expanding my zone of acceptance. You know what I'm saying? You kind of opened my eyes to the fact that, like, hey, this may not be something that I understand, but it's like, I'm accepting. You know what I mean? Like, even despite the fact that I don't understand it, I'm not rejecting it.
Yeah.
That's
just because you don't understand it.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Just because I don't understand doesn't mean that I'm rejecting it.
And that's a big thing, As soon as people see something that's like different or something they don't necessarily understand or can't define or can't label, it's like,
right.
I'm going to reject that. Or I don't trust that, or they're going to fear that, or it's kind of like a stigma around it.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we can kind of, to break through that, it's just understanding and acknowledging that if you don't understand, maybe try to get to understand. But if you're not willing to understand, that's all right. But it's like you don't have to reject. You don't have to kind of put down. You don't have to do. Like you said, it's not really necessarily bothering you per se.
Yeah. And I see so many situations like that, man, where we just like we're so quick to reject the things that we don't get to the point where like I've had conversations with my friends just like in my personal life where like as soon as you say something that somebody doesn't like, it's like even though you can explain yourself in a way to where you know that they understand, they're still going to reject it. Just you know what I mean? Because they're so stuck and so hardened of just like
not accepting whatever you say
or changing their opinion.
Yeah,
it's just like, and when I come into those things, I'm just kind of like I just start being quiet. I'm just like, all right, like that's what it is. But it's like we got to break that. I think that's important because, like you said, we look at what's going on right now. Two things that you hit on: the acceptance part, and even the I'm drawing a blank right now. The acceptance part, and what did you just say? You just said it right now.
Change.
No. You were talking about change a little bit, but you were talking about like how when it's I'm trying to say comfortability, but that's not the word that you use though. You pretty much just talking about how right now we're at a point in society where like it's not super super bad for a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like it's not super super bad, so it's like people are okay with continuing going down the same direction because it's not really really bad.
Things aren't terrible.
Exactly, but it's like I feel like a combination of those two things. People need to realize that like, once again, perspective. Just because it's not bad for you, you know what I mean? That doesn't mean it's okay
for everyone.
Exactly, and for two, we need to accept the fact that we're not in other people's positions too. And I feel like those are two combinations that will help us progress so much. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like, it really is just seeing eye to eye. Like, it's real simple, but it's like, I don't know why I'm trying to overcomplicate it, you know what I mean, and make it something. But it really is, we really need to try to start seeing eye to eye with people, man. Like,
Yeah.
you really do.
And trying to see another perspective, you
Mm-hmm.
know, trying to like, and that's kind of tied into it too. So because it's like, and it's like even I can, okay, we're in the suburbs, we're in a safe, affluent neighborhood, you know,
Right.
it'd be easy to just be like, okay, well, things are fine, you know,
Right.
this is great, this is, and not acknowledge, you know, other areas that are impoverished, other areas that are struggling, and it's like, cause it's like the saying basically, we're not free until everyone is free, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
until everyone really can like has true freedom to like live how they want to,
Right.
without harming others, you know, we're not gonna, just because some people are and others aren't, that's not really true freedom
Right.
necessarily.
Yeah. Right.
But,
Yeah. Right.
I was blanking a little bit out there, but no, I like this guy. I like the book that
Mm-hmm.
is called Catalyst, and the first one he wrote was Contagious.
Mm-hmm. I heard about that book before. I was telling you the other day through Nip. It's about how things catch on and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, and I remember all my information is like about Contagious is through Nipsey Hussle. If you haven't figured it out already, if you listen to us, I'm a huge Nipsey Hussle fan. Dude had a tremendous impact on my life. He's tatted on my arm. But he pretty much told the story about the Philly cheesesteak sandwich in like a lot of his interviews where he talked about how this man sold $100 cheesesteak sandwich and like, you know, people were kind of drawn back by it, like, why the fuck pay $100 for a cheesesteak sandwich? And then like next thing you know, once somebody buys it, somebody else buys it, you get celebrities buying it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a whole bunch of people lined up for this fucking $100 sandwich to
Yeah.
see what's the deal. And it's
Yeah.
like, just kind of like acknowledging the fact of how things catch on. You
Yeah.
know, I think that's a really dope concept because you can apply it to just about anything, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trying to make what you do in demand. You know, and I kind of follow those things too for some future things that I'm going to do. I don't want to touch on here now, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, I imagine it was a dope book. I was about to say it was a dope book, but I haven't read it. But yeah, Contagious. Yeah, Contagious.
I don't know if I think I just said, but it's like it's basically about seeing things from other people's perspectives.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
about Contagious is?
No. I meant no. Not talking about the book, just in general. Like
Oh,
how you were
yeah.
talking about seeing eye to eye.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was kind of saying, like trying to be able to see things from other people's perspective.
Right.
And that's a big thing too. That's why, because I was just going over like all the different authors and the different books that I've been reading. Because you know this, I haven't really talked, but I've been on reading a bunch of books this year. Like I'm trying to read a lot.
I've been
More.
trying to read 1,020 books.
Exactly, just you know.
This nigga's been reading 10 books a week.
Nah, man, on a mission, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just reminding me though, because so I've read 23 authors so far this year, but I've read and 4 of them have been women.
Okay.
It's like that's not very high. I'm glad it's better than 0, but it's
Right.
like it's not very high either. But for me, that's a way of getting a glimpse of somebody else's perspective that I
Right.
don't necessarily understand,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I think it's something important for other people just in general to do, to be able to see things from other people's perspectives. And another part was like reading literature from different continents or different even political ideologies, just different like just things that are different. That's kind of, I feel like, a way to get exposure to things that are different and not have a fear or rejection of them.
Right. I had a friend that kind of was talking to me about how valuable like an outsider's perspective is in situations. Like it's a very valuable perspective for somebody to be outside of a situation and be able to analyze it because they're not within it, so they're not necessarily swayed by, you know what I mean, by whatever goes on. But that almost makes me think about, I feel like even expanding on what I said, like how those two things were valuable in order to be progressive, I think that's another valuable one for people to realize that just because you're not in a situation doesn't mean you shouldn't have a say-so all the time. You know, like I kind of look at that in terms of like, I'm really thinking about like poverty. I'm specifically thinking about black people, you know what I'm saying? Because thinking about a conversation that I had with somebody, they were telling me how they have a lot of family members, you know, that live in poverty, and everything that they think is the way, it's not really the way, but it's like they're not listening to them, telling them that what they're doing is not the way, because it's like, you don't know.
They're not living.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not
shoes.
living this, you're not, but it, like, in reality, it's like, that's hindering, you know, that's not going to help. They're
trying to help.
Exactly. Like, they're trying to help them out, but it's like, they're looking at them like, you don't know, you know what I'm saying? You're not here with us, but it's like, yo, like, this is obviously, to an outsider, this is obviously wrong. Like, you know, but
Nah,
I'm done.
that's like that objectivity. That's like the objectivity. I feel like where you're hitting on people being coming from the outside and being able to analyze a situation.
Mm-hmm.
But what you just reminded me of was something I was thinking about the other day was criticism. Like everyone could get a little better at taking and at receiving and giving criticism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I feel like both of them really do need work. Because there's some people too that they're trying to give constructive criticism, but it's just coming out. They aren't expressing it the right way. So
like
then,
a hater.
exactly,
Like
exactly. And like that's the thing. It's like there's criticisms of love and criticisms of hate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if someone loves you and it's like they're criticizing you because they want to see what's best for you and they want to see you do better, that's one thing.
Right.
But if someone really just doesn't like you and it's like I'm gonna find a way, like I don't like everything you're doing, I don't like the way you're walking, they're just trying to criticize you because they don't like you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole different thing that people. That's a real thing too.
Some people do that shit and don't even realize they're doing it.
Oh, bro. And that's kind of like a I feel like a facet of social media. I'm not trying to just lump it in there, but it's like that. It's a space where people are comfortable criticizing and then not very receptive of criticism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I feel like the whole concept of criticism, if it were refined a little bit now, I feel like that could really help with communication. Because then it's like people, even if they don't see eye to eye, they should be able to sit down or they should be able to point out what they don't like, or what they be able to express that, and then like there should be able to be like a nuance and like a balance where it's like people can talk about both sides of things.
I remember you kind of made me think about something because, as a matter of fact, we talked about it either last episode or the one before. We were talking about how social media has created a lot of narcissists.
Yes.
And I was listening to a video kind of explaining on like how to communicate with a narcissist. And one of the things that they do, the video, a psychologist was talking about how when you bring an incident up to somebody that's a narcissist, they'll instantly come back with something that you did that was worse. So they could have been from like 2 or 3 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But that almost makes me think about criticism, because it's like if I'm criticizing you for something you did that was wrong, and you just come back at me with some more hateful shit, you know what I mean? Like you're not coming back then it's like we don't get nowhere. Yeah. You know, essentially the psychologist was saying that when somebody's a narcissist and they start speaking like that, it's done. You have to revisit it. So you can't talk to them anymore. Yeah. Bottom line, but it's like imagine, you know what I mean? That same concept. In terms of how we communicate with each other and criticize each other, it's like if we constantly come out of hate and there's no, it's just I don't like this, or just, with no explanation or nothing that's going to improve upon what we're criticizing, and it's like there's really no point in talking.
Nothing.
You're not trying to help me.
Exactly.
What am I going to do?
Yeah.
It's just like damn, like you can come up to me and be like, this shirt is ugly. It's not ugly. It's Prime Life. It's fly. But I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? It's like I do with that.
Yeah.
Like how do it say if it was mine and I was like, you didn't help me make it better. Like,
hey, man.
But that's what a lot of people are doing. They're kind of just throwing out, just judging something immediately and just throwing out just like, I don't like this. I remember you said this on another episode. Like it's a lot of like, I don't like this. I like that and nothing further.
Exactly.
And that's not constructive criticism.
Exactly.
And
it's superficial. That's the other, like, people couldn't point out why they like that or why they don't like that. And that's my thing. Like, if you're going to say you don't like something, then I feel like you should have to be able to explain why you don't like it, or have some explanation. You can't just be like, I just don't like that.
Right now, it's usually because everybody else does or everybody
else
does.
And that's really it.
That's
exactly. And that's the superficiality of it.
Really.
It's like,
that's what it is.
It's like, because it's crazy, because it's like maybe deep down inside, it's like, I did like that shirt, but now 5 comments say it's trash. I can't go on saying it's hot, because then people are going to be questioning my judgment.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like,
exactly.
That's in the book, it also talks about intellectual isolationism. And he's said he thinks that's a product of social media. Because it's like you just basically have, and this is something separate, but this is something I was telling my mom. Just the same way that like people build suburbs and little enclaves for people to live, it's like it's the same thing on social media. It's like I'm just gonna have a little bubble of the people I follow, and like my timeline is gonna be things I agree with, or things that are similar to interest and things like that. But it's kind of like that's the isolationism. So it's like you're only getting one side of it, and it's interesting because he talks about case studies, and he talks about a case study basically, where it's like when you present people that are skeptical. Because he was using the example of vaccines. So it's like when you present people that are skeptical of vaccines with information and facts, that makes them it has the opposite effect, because he's basically talking about like when you're trying to change people's mind, a lot of people think, okay, I'm just gonna present a bunch of facts and statistics, and that's gonna for sure change their mind.
Yeah.
And you're saying like that doesn't really work necessarily. So for some people, like that has the opposite effect. That makes them kind of just double down essentially.
Right.
And that just kind of reminded me of something else that I was telling my mom a while back, where it's like sometimes I really feel like when people are in the wrong, instead of admitting they're in the wrong, they double down, and it's gonna be like, nah, I'm gonna stand for this, like even though like I might be wrong, and it's like I probably am wrong, but it's like I'm just gonna keep doubling down, and it's like that's kind of, I feel like that's how people get like deeper and deeper into holes sometimes without even realizing it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I know somebody that's like that about their political choice, man. I'm just like, you know what I'm saying? But they obviously know that they made a mistake. But they still gonna try to make it right. I'm like, man,
no, that's a bit.
It's wild to me,
man. I was just reading an article earlier, basically talking about that, like how do you accept people, or how should we accept people that do realize like, okay, I've gone too far, that are kind of realizing, because I know this thing just keeps popping up. I mean, it's the book I'm reading, that's why it's popping in my head. But one of them where it was from Nebraska, and so there's this man that was like a grand dragon of the clan, and there's this Jewish family that moved in, and he kept calling them, sending them all this like hateful stuff, and they were kind of just trying to figure out like, get to the root of necessarily like kind of why he was doing these things, and it was kind of just like, man, I lose my train of thought a bit, but it was basically kind of talking about how like, I'm losing it.
Walk with it. Here, let's give him silence.
Nah, it's gonna go.
Oh, damn.
It'll come back though. But it was basically talking about like they were able to get him to change, and like the people over time, they were able to get him to change his views and change his opinions, and it was through compassion, and it was like through kind of, man.
Walk with it, man.
Nah,
you're gonna get it out.
No.
You're gonna get it out.
All right. We can't cut it, but like that. Just forget about that.
Bro, they can listen to all this. We're going to get it out. We're natural on social class.
It's true. This is true. This will come back.
We're natural. It'll come back.
I don't know if you can tell, but this is probably one of the best books. I've read 27 books this year, and this is probably the best book that I'm reading right now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Say the title again. Say the title and the name again.
The Catalyst by Jonah Berger. And I'm not even done with it. So he's got 5, I don't know if I said, he's got 5 things that hinder and inhibit change. It's reactance, endowment, distance, uncertainty, and corroborating evidence. And so far, I read reactance and endowment, but I still got the other 3 to read. But it's just been like, it's just one of those things that kind of like opens your eyes. And the other thing with that is, with just reading in general, I got this from someone else, but I really like the way he broke it down. He was saying basically, if you read a book and say it takes you like, I don't know, maybe a month to read a book, or a certain amount of time to read a book. And he's basically saying like, say it took that author 3 years of research to write that book. You basically just absorbed 3 years of research in a month, So if you look at it like that, where it's like you can absorb and intake a large amount of information from books, and it's, I don't know, the value in that. When you put it like that, when you describe it that way, it made me realize, like, there's a lot of information, that you can retain.
It's a very valuable tool.
Exactly.
Like, I'm taking something to something. Some authors spend a really long time on their books.
10 plus years, 20 plus years.
And it's like, if I can take that, they did all the work for me. You know what I'm saying? Essentially, they did all the work. All I got to do is read it. It's like they did all the research. They found out, did all the studies, found all the factual information.
Exactly.
We trust them to have, had a thought process that translated those factual evidences into, something that I can intake and actually trust in,
And on top of that, there's like a certain standard, to publishing. This is kind of like a side tangent, but I also kind of wanted to hit on it a little bit. Yeah. But it's kind of just like with the whole publishing thing, because I was just recently watching it, like with a lot of the big companies like Amazon, Google, Facebook, they're kind of deciding like, are these monopolies or not? And it's like part of the solution that people think is like for Facebook to be treated like a publishing company, to be treated like the New York Times, or to be treated like a large publishing entity essentially. So like they can't go, like there's certain standards, like they can't just print whatever they want, and if they do and it's not true, they can get sued or they can get different things. There's consequences, but because of that, there's like a certain accountability and a certain standard,
Right.
and it's like basically kind of trying to apply that to social
To
media,
social
and it'd be a
media.
little different because it's like it is individuals, but at the same time, I like that concept. I don't know
Yeah.
how which way I fully, like in general, I feel like I like that better than the way just to get a sort of accountability and responsibility, so people can't just go on and say whatever exactly, because that I feel like is what is really damaging. Just like the fact, it really is still just mind blowing too that you can really just hop on the internet and
Say
spew whatever
the
you
fuck
want. Some vile hatred, you can just go and spew that,
Yes.
and nobody knows who you are.
Yes. And if it gets a certain amount of support,
which it probably will,
whatever,
exactly, and it goes to a certain, and then it's just feeding into a larger network of people who feel the same way, and so it's just like beds of hate, and it's not even just like mainstream media. It's more just like this is like what like different channels, smaller websites, like the concept, you know, where it's like a meeting place and an introductory for like more hatred and more negativity, almost feeding off each other.
Exactly. Yeah, I see a lot. That's why I want to get back on now just because of a couple of other things I'm doing just for observation purposes. But bro, I've been off of Twitter for the last 5 years. I don't want to go back. Like I really don't. And it was solely because of that reason, just because I realized that it was a lot of running with opinions, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And kind of like running with a lot of shit that I was just kind of like, bro, why is everybody trusting in what this one person said? Or like, you know what I mean? And then like you go back and figure out who the fuck is this one person. It's like, what? You know what I'm saying?
A troll.
Like, exactly.
It's
a troll.
all started
it's somebody that didn't even believe what they said.
Like, and got other people up in arms about,
about it.
Bro,
for real,
it's not
bro.
healthy. This isn't healthy.
It's not, man. I'm trying to figure out when we start striking.
But that's the thing too. Oh, bro.
When we start striking, bro.
Oh, I was reading this other article, and it was kind of just talking about. Well, it was basically saying like how the morality of boycotts isn't necessarily like all the way there, because it's basically saying like it's tough in this day and age to boycott certain things. Basically saying like how it's like, okay, even if you wanted to boycott Facebook, like would you really be willing to give up Instagram?
Yeah,
exactly. That's owned by Facebook, and it's
Yeah.
like things like that where it's like that's a tough dilemma for people that are in certain situations where it's like they use it as a tool to connect and kind of. So it's basically just saying like what the main gist of their argument was like, don't use the boycotts as like a purity test. It's like instead of that, it's like hold your politicians accountable and like make sure they're doing their jobs to hold everything else accountable. And like that just got me thinking. That's kind of like how we were talking about before, changing the whole notion of like politicians have such a bad rep where it's like people are very distrusting of politicians just in general. Like everyone's
all of them are corrupt. And
exactly. Just if you talk to if you talk to the general person like and ask them if they trust politicians, it's gonna be no. It's gonna be no chance. So it's like I feel like it's really lost that like public service aspect to it. You know, that's kind of been lost.
Right.
And it's like get that back. Maybe like hopefully our generation, you know, new leaders to come out like. Man, it's like AOC. It's like we're seeing new leadership, and we're kind of seeing people like can do things certain ways, and it's like that. We need more of that. Right. People that have like restoring trust in politicians, restoring like belief and like hope, and not just like nothing but negativity.
Yeah, man. That was a point. That was a clip right there. Like I heard it in my head, like just at the end of that clip.
Bro, it's crazy because this thing's just been like just connecting to other things, you know. There's like, oh, that's what, and I'm usually not able to like connect them and remember, but it's like now they're kind of like flowing a little more.
This book is about to be fire, bro.
Man, I'm trying to.
This book is about to be fire, bro.
Man, I'm trying to figure out how to go about it. Because it's like, I realize it. I don't want it to just be like a memoir, but I want it to be like definitely be like a lot of aspects. And what I'm trying to do is basically like just like the larger, broader examples that I learned. I'm trying to tell my story through that, but also have like a broader aspect of it, so other people can relate to it. Not just maybe from reading my story, but like just if I generalize it, they might be able to relate to that too.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah, man. I definitely think you have something that a lot of people are going to be able to relate to.
That's
for sure.
Right.
Yeah, no, for sure. But man, trying to think. My brain is like halfway dead, bro. I've been cleaning that fucking room all week. painting on that mural.
I feel
I ain't got shit to talk about. I don't. I don't have shit to talk about today that I could think of. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to talk about that you can think of?
Let me think
I don't want to dead them out and end on just like a, you know, fuck it point. But
Nah, something's gonna come to me. I'm supposed to be partaking in this group. It's called Game Changers.
you're supposed to be partaking in the group.
Yeah, so it's basically like right now they're having some. My cousin was the one that told me about it because she has a nonprofit and they're trying to build a relationship with the police. And so basically, the Game Changers is police and civilians, and it's trying to like build a better relationship. So right now, what they're doing is the next one's supposed to be Thursday. I'm supposed to be getting more details, but it's supposed to be like small like discussion groups, and it's like some police officers and some civilians on like a Zoom call, just kind of like discussing like it's supposed to be an opportunity to speak freely and try to just get understanding and kind of get perspective. And I'm interested in that. I feel like excited to see where that goes, kind of.
Oh, that's dope. That's like something that you talk about too.
Yeah,
often, and now
exactly.
it's kind of like presented to you.
But that's cool. My cousin. She said once she did it, she's like, I feel like she thought of me, is what she was saying. So that's why she reached out, and I was like, yeah, that'd be.
Can you reveal the name of her nonprofit, or is that?
Not right now.
Okay.
Probably.
All right, bet. I was just looking out just in case.
No,
just in case I needed some publicizing. Trying to publicize everything out here, including Prime Life clothing.
No.
Trying to get these niggas. I'm trying to get some, man. I'm trying to get some free. They don't even know I'm doing this shit. I'm just.
Hey, but this is just looking out. You know, I feel like it's what we need more of. You know?
No, we really do, bro.
Really bro. Just people looking out without even
just
having.
Looking out, just you know, like I told you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you know, just looking out just for the sake of looking out.
Yeah, bro. Just blessing people. You know.
Like a fuck, man.
Like, who knows? Like, what if we just did that?
Right.
What if there? You know,
that was just a thing.
Like, yeah. Like, what if it wasn't like a, you know, like some like backdoor connotation, like, oh, you owe me this because you did this for me or whatever. Like, what if we just did things out of generosity? You know what I'm saying? Just because we want other people to do well.
Like, I was feeling good. I wanted to pass it on.
Yeah.
You know?
like, man, that's how I was feeling today. About Prime Life Clothing Company. You know what I'm saying? Got the cameraman Malice by Prime Life. My boy Jay Stu, my boy Emmanuel, my boy Kyle Young, Tim Chrome. You know what I'm saying? Young black business owners, by the way, too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, doing their thing.
Yes, sir.
For real, doing their thing. I hope to be there one day. Yep, for real.
It's coming, bro.
I hope so, man. Putting a lot of fucking work and a lot of money.
Nah, it's coming, man.
I mean, I'm not. My friend is. You know what I'm saying? Even with
just in with the art and everything, you know,
yeah.
The website, like all that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I definitely feel like doing it. I mean, shit, I'll shut down the charade right now, I guess. I do got something to talk about because it's hard not to talk about it when it's all I've been working on. Last week I mentioned, and if you didn't tune into episode 8, which releases tonight, but I mean, that's besides the point. Episode 8 starts off with me talking about a shirt, right, that says, we will breathe on it. And I had alluded to my friend, in quotes, that was making this shirt, but the friend is really me. I just didn't want to, I don't know, I'm weird like that. Like, I didn't want to take credibility for it or whatever. I don't know. But, yeah, man, as soon as, like, it was, like, right after the whole George Floyd incident, where I was just kind of like, man, like, you know, I was mad. Everybody's angry. I'm still angry. I was angry before that. Yeah. I was angry during it. I'm angry now. You know what I'm saying? Like ain't shit changed, you know? But that was really kind of like you mentioned earlier, like a catalyst in my mind. You know what I mean? Like that this was going to be something big. This was going to be very impactful time, you know what I mean? Which we're all seeing it is. Like, yes. But the first thing I kind of thought about was just kind of like, you know, solutions to the problem, you know, and I feel like one factor to the problem that I can do my part in, because everybody has, you know, their roles, you know what I mean, in solving this problem. Like, you know, I'm not the politician. I'm not going to go to school to be a politician, nor am I going to, you know, be a police officer. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not what my expertise is. I'm an artist, so I started thinking, how can I use what I have? You know what I mean? To try to push forward and aiding this problem. And one of the issues is that black people, there's a lack of wealth within the black community, you know, and there's like I've mentioned before, like this narrative of supporting black business and stuff like that. So I was like, man, let me just really get serious about my business, you know? So I saw the narrative going around, and this is beyond, you know, this is just beyond a physical piece of clothing, but I saw the narrative going around of everybody saying, I can't breathe, you know, which is what George Floyd said when he was passing away, when the officer had his knee on his neck. And the first thing I thought to myself was like, man, like, why is everybody, because I saw a few other shirts too, you know, and this is not to discredit the shirt, you know what I mean? Like, I understand the message full and well, but I'm just saying I saw a lot of other articles of clothing because people want, you know, a visual representation of support. And it was kind of like, it just, I don't want to say negative is the word, but kind of like, you know, like oppressive a little bit, like the tones that was coming out, the messages that people were putting out. And I was like, no, fuck that. I was like, I think a greater day is going to come. It just may not be today or tomorrow, but I think it's going to happen. So I was like, let's kind of change the narrative. So I thought to make this shirt that says "We Can't Breathe." It's designed by myself on this iPad, literally from Adobe Draw. You know, so it's my rights and everything like that. But before I started selling it, because it's actually not for sale yet as we speak, I was like, man, let me get all my legalities together first. You know, let me do this the right way. So I established, you know, a brand and everything, and I'll reveal that shit probably next episode or something like that. I'll plug that in. But anyway, I started this brand, and working on this website right now, and that's where a lot of my time and attention is going to, because I feel like, for one, it's something that a lot of people are capitalizing on right now, is like the clothing and everything, because it's an essential need. You know, people are always going to wear clothes. But something that I kind of prided myself on was the quality of the clothing alongside the message. And I felt like what I was putting out was really authentic. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't forced. It just kind of came to me. You know, I always tell you my ideas come in the shower. I was in the shower. Shit came to me. So I was like, man, let me start to do something. And I was like, along the way, once I started studying, you know, just kind of the means of the production line, you know, and how much you get quality things for, how much it costs to make them, and how much people make on the back end, how much they profit off of it. It's like, man, people really, not to expose some shit, but profit a lot, like, for real. So I was like, man, while I produce this product, you know, if it's of good quality, that means I should be able to charge a certain price, just based on the rest of the market. You know what I mean? Not even setting my own price, but based on the rest of the market, I think it's worth it. So I was like, all right, bet. I'm going to charge $40 for this shirt. It's good quality. Not only am I spreading a message, but with the profits of it, I'm also doing like a food drive for the homeless as well. So if you want to support me, be on the lookout. This is my shirt. If you see a shirt that says "We Will Breathe" on it, it is mine. It'll have my little signature on it. That is mine. It says hashtag or 1111 stay golden. And yeah, that's pretty much what I've been working on. But I feel like it's very possible to you know, to start moving in a direction where we can accumulate more wealth, well, riches, whatever you want to call it, accumulate more money, you know what I mean, to be able to actually mobilize and do some things. And along the way, I think we can help people too. You know, I feel like a lot of times we always talk about greed in our conversations, man. And that greed is excessive. Like I said, not to expose some things, but I mean, a lot of people know this. I'm not saying shit people don't know. Like, when it comes to materialism, things aren't worth what we pay for them. You know, things are worth what we say they're worth. Like, for real. Like, I remember I saw this ad. It wasn't an ad. It was a post or something on IG, but it had like a Fendi sweater and how much they charge for it and how much it costs to make it. And bro, it was ridiculous. The
disparity. The
margin of how much they overcharged this shit. It ended up costing, I believe the sweater, they were selling it for like $7.95 and it only cost them like $80 to make. Something like that. Don't quote me on the price, but it was around that range. I know for sure it wasn't like $100.
Yeah. So
they're charging like 7-8 times more. But the way I looked at it is like, man, I guess I'll use this platform, you know what I mean, of our listeners to like, if you support, you know what I mean, black businesses building something, because I've detached from materialism. Everything that I do will go back into trying to aid and help my community, whether it not be instantly, but down the line, it will be going towards helping the black community. So, you know, if you want to support me, if you want to support the cause, yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. So, of course, like I said, on the next episode, I'll mention it when the website and everything is together. But, yeah, I guess that's all I got to say about that. Thought about it. I got it out. I feel good. I feel like I got a leech off my chest.
Nah, that's
I feel like I've been holding that in for the last couple episodes because I don't like talking. I don't like talking about the stuff that I'm doing like behind the scenes when it hasn't actually materialized yet.
Yeah.
I don't want to hurt myself, but at the same time, I need to bring awareness to it if I want it to be impactful, like how I want it to. So, you know, please support that. Please support that.
Yeah.
You will not see me, you know what I mean, with some expensive ass Jordans on my feet or a Mercedes-Benz car or anything like that by supporting me. I'm telling you where my money's going straight up, and it's going to helping our community, whether it be instantly or down the line. It's all going into that's my motive. You know what I mean? That's my motive for raising the funds with the shirts. So yeah, man, we will breathe. I'll put up the little 3 fingers. You got anything else to throw in there?
Nah, I was just gonna say you hit on kind of credit and making sure you get your credit. You know,
right,
now that people know, and like
too.
that's a fine line. That's kind of tough.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like tied into value a little bit, like we were talking about last episode. Like if you don't, you know, assert your own value, then it's like somebody will undervalue you. You know?
Right.
And if you don't necessarily tell people or like you don't demand your credit, people won't give it to you sometimes.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
and they'll try to use that. You know,
I've learned that.
And so that's
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
That's what I find. It's a good thing, you know, to let the people know.
That's something I actually kind of got to get out of, bro. Cause like I kind of downplay my stuff a little bit too much.
Yeah.
And I could tell it hurts me. You know what I mean? So this was stepping outside of my comfort zone right now to even like say anything like. And I know we're gonna put this video out and stuff like that. Like I rarely, you know, say anything about stuff that I'm trying to do or asking people for help or support or anything like that. But that's a necessary part of it. And I know you have to make people aware, or else it's like people don't know, and how the fuck are they going to support you? Yeah. You know, so shit. I guess on that note, I'll wrap it up, man. It's been a good one. Another good one. It's hot as fuck in here. I forgot to turn on the AC. Shit was probably a little bit choppy because my dog started barking and everything like that. But I think it was good nevertheless. And don't forget to check out Prime Life. Prime Life, man. Oh, shit, I hit my head on the mic. Prime Life, you know what I'm saying? They got the Malice tees. They got the Fight Night collection out right now. You know what I'm saying? And everybody that supports Prime Life, I'm going to need you to support me, too. That's why I'm throwing that shit out there, straight up. Everybody that buys from Prime Life, I hope Jay Stu and them, you niggas better support me, man. You know what I'm saying? All right, man. Social class.